Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chica con Plantas podcast. I'm your host, Grossi. Does anybody see anything new here? Okay, it's my microphone. Story time. Travis got me a microphone, and it was meant to be for Christmas. But the delivery guy messed up, or Amazon messed up. Someone dropped the ball here. We're not mad. I'm super excited. Actually, this helped to encourage me to record, and I was already planning on recording, but this boosted my moods in doing so. Not that I wasn't excited, more that I was nervous because today I'm going to be talking about my labor. I'm going to be talking about my family journey, me, Travis, Leo, and Louie, our dog. But mainly today is just the topic today, basically, is a bit overwhelming at times in my mind and in my feelings because, yes, it was a lot. And throughout this podcast today, you'll see why. But the main part is that I'm super grateful for where I'm at. I'm super grateful that I get to have Leo in my arms, and he's 9 months in a couple days on the 8th. And where did the time go? Time passed so fast. And everybody always says that time passes by fast. You'll get it. You'll get it. And yep, I definitely get it. He is saying dada. He has said mama. But I believe he is not saying it on purpose because he knows how to say it. And Travis also said that he thinks that Leo is not saying it on purpose. So I just think that that's hilarious. Thanks a lot, Leo. More like, it's funny that he just has that ability to do that developmentally. Like, I just think it's really cool. Yeah, I just think that that's awesome. But he's moving around. He's standing up and down on his own, holding up and like being able to hold himself up. It's amazing. And I know that it is what it is. Like, we all end up doing that, but it's really awesome as his mother to see it happen because he's just so capable and strong and able and cool. So yeah, and he's my baby and I love him with all my life. So yes, I'm very grateful that me and him and Travis are here and we have health. And I decided to take some time off from recording. I did not post for 2 weeks. Number one being, I wanted to spend time with Travis and with Leo. I wanted just to kind of find my balance back because I was hustling so hard, and I still am. I'm hustling very hard, and this is very serious for me, but I also needed to kind of take a step back and fully process everything else going on, because everything else going on, which are the things that I've talked about already on the podcast, but there are just some details that I am sharing today, the piping hot tea that I'm sharing today, they were overwhelming. And so yes, sometimes piping hot tea can be overwhelming, especially when it involves you. And so, in other words, it's not piping hot tea. It's more just like a story that's happened to me recently. But yes, that stuff going on was overwhelming. And I even made a post on Instagram, and I was clearly very still upset while I was like writing the post because I had to keep editing it. And so, yes, I really needed to kind of circle myself and just draw, okay, girl, what do you want it to look like now? Because I I don't want to be an angry person, and definitely the stuff happening made me very angry and very frustrated. So let's get into it. Let's talk about my story and how that all ties together. So, Travis and I decided to have Leo. We decided to get pregnant. In May, I removed my IUD. And then in June, we only tried for a month. In June, we found out that we were pregnant. And my pregnancy was awesome. I think I was only nauseous for about consistently. I don't even remember, honestly. Probably not even that long. I feel like it was around a couple weeks. I think it was like 3 weeks. And then definitely my first trimester. And then I just was so glowy and happy. Actually, my first trimester, I was very ragey. I was very angry. Like a lot of things would just tick me. that was not that was not fun. Thankfully, Travis is very patient and loving, and it was a lot. I think hormonally it was a lot because I removed my IUD in May, and then exactly a month later I was pregnant. So my body was like, "No babies." And then I was like, "Yes, babies. Let me remove this thing that's been blocking all that." And then I got pregnant right away, and then whoa, a whoosh of just hormones all up in my body. So that definitely affected me. And that's probably why I was so ragey in the beginning. I love you, Trav. Thank you. He's in the room. Yeah. So then in my pregnancy, the second trimester, I remember I was like super grossed out by meat, but I was craving strawberries with tahini and honey. Wow. Even right now, that sounds so good. I was eating it a lot. It was so good. And then on the little chart that I downloaded this app on my phone, and it tells me, like, it would tell me how big Leo was in each stage and the size of the fruit that he was at the week. And I just thought it was so cute. He was a strawberry at one point, and it was so cute. And then, yeah, me eating the strawberries, him being a strawberry size at one point. And then I have a picture of him. You can't see his face, but the strawberry is like this in front of his face, like where my fist is. That's where the strawberries. And it's just the cutest thing because he's just my widow strawberry. And yeah, the third trimester, I was definitely like showing and getting bigger. And I was so excited. I was taking pictures almost all the time. Probably all the time. I have so many videos that I definitely have not finished looking through. So many pictures of me being pregnant. It was just so awesome and so fun. I loved being pregnant. Like being pregnant was so beautiful. And also just every day having the feeling of, I'm finally here. I finally get to experience being just what I've always wanted and known that I want to be, a mother. How cute. And so, yes, I loved being pregnant. And then my labor, yeah, girl, that's another story. Trigger warning, flags everywhere. If you are currently healing from your postpartum journey, if you are currently healing from any type of trauma and you're not ready to listen, this would definitely be a good time to stop because there's just a lot of things that went on. Thank you for listening by far, and I love you if you have to go. Catch me on Instagram, Chica con plantas, and yes, thank you. For everyone who's staying, wait till you hear this. So My labor. I went into the hospital Wednesday and we had Leo on Friday. My labor was 55 hours. Also, in advance, if I struggle telling this story, it's also because I'm using this time to fully process everything and say it all out loud. I definitely have not processed my labor fully. So, this is a disclaimer that there might be some tears because every time that I talk about it, I do end up. See, I'm over here procrastinating talking about it. Do you see this? Okay. So, yes, I went into the hospital at. Actually, I went into the midwifery center. Let's roll back. I was supposed to have a water birth and I was going to have a natural water birth. And I was so grateful that I was with a great team, or so I thought. And yeah, and the midwifery center is one of the only midwifery centers in the state to be in in the same building as a hospital. So I felt like I was completely going to be taken care of. Wrong. Yes, I went into the midwifery center Wednesday morning, and because at around 6 in the morning, I think my water, I definitely felt like a trickle, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is probably my water like leaking. And I called the midwifery center, and they told me to check, and I did, and we went in. They made me an appointment for like the following hour, I think, and we went into the midwifery center, and they checked me. They did like the Leo's heartbeat and also Leo's movement. They were tracking those two things. And they confirmed that my water was indeed leaking. And they told me that 12 hours later, no, yes, that 12 hours later, I would have to come back. And so my appointment was at 9 in the morning. And so then at 9 p.m., they made me an appointment for the hospital, and they said check in at the hospital, and then once you're monitored and we get staff in, we'll send you to the midwifery center. So going to the hospital initially, I didn't think it was going to be like a bad thing, and I didn't want to have I didn't want to give birth at a hospital. I was terrified of just the idea of that, and I thought that going with a midwifery center was the best, and it probably is the best. In any other case, this might be an exception, but they're monitoring me, and they confirm that it was my water leaking. And so they send me home to do the first part of labor at home, which is just once your water starts leaking, then you're supposed to start contracting around that time. And then if you don't, they do help you. So 9 p.m. came, and Travis and I drove to the hospital fully thinking, wow, like we're about to have Leo in the next 24 hours. And at this point, I was having contractions, light ones, but they weren't super long and or consistent. So either way, I had to go in 12 hours later because my water was leaking. And so I was at risk of infection. And so we go at 9 p.m. into the hospital, and they put on those two things to monitor his Leo's heartbeat and his movement. And they tell me that his heart rate is dropping, and that it's inconsistent or something like that, and that they need to keep an eye. And so I'm like, okay, that's scary thing number one. And they are monitoring that, and they're like, well, you're not dilating, and we need you to dilate. So we need to get you on. Do you want to get on the pill that dilates you? And I don't remember the name of the pill. I do apologize. I should have looked it up before. But they couldn't give it to me because Leo's heart rate was inconsistently and like weirdly dropping after a contraction. And so that was weird to them. And so they started giving me the pill once they said that everything was okay. So they gave me the pill once they said that Leo's heartbeat looked fine. And so I started on that pill and I was contracting a little bit more consistently, but not really. It didn't really do much. And that was all the first night. And then around 4 a.m., they started giving me the Pitocin, which is, they give you an IV and then it is inserted into your bloodstream, and it just is supposed to help you dilate. The science behind it, I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, it's supposed to help you. It can help you, and it should help you dilate. And in my case, I was having more consistent contractions, but I was not dilating. And so I was not able to fully rest that night. So that first night, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And then Thursday afternoon, my friend Drea came to see us and to bring us snacks and just to check on me. And then she took a couple pictures of us. So that was super beautiful and really, really kind of you, Drea. Thank you so much. I love you. And she ended up staying, honestly, until 1 a.m. So she was there for around 13 hours. And she ended up staying because she ended up seeing how weird they were being in terms of how neglectful they were being. They weren't really checking on me. They didn't know where the midwife was, because Drea and I were timing my contractions, and I was indeed having really consistent contractions and super strong contractions. And they kept saying, "Oh, you're a first time mom? Oh, you must not be in much pain because you're not showing. You don't seem like you're in a lot of pain." And I'm like, it's not my fault that I was able to stay calm through the pain. And because they saw me calm through the pain, they did not believe me. And unfortunately to say, I've been through a lot of painful things. And so to deny me a pain that I know is way beyond my concept of measure was really, really frustrating, because they kept saying, "Oh, you're a first time mom. You'll understand later." Or, is this your first? Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, no. And then one of the midwives came in, and they were circling with midwives. At this point, I was supposed to have a midwife, and the one that I was seeing all of my pregnancy, and she just didn't end up being on schedule for that night. And so they were just circling midwives into the hospital from the midwifery center. And that was, in my opinion, not good planning on their end, because any second a baby could be born, and there was multiple people in there, because they kept saying that there was multiple women in labor. So, and I saw other women coming in. And so it just, the neglect is the part that really does a lot in my being, because in a time where a woman is going through the most vulnerable point in her life, giving birth, to not give her the space to be is just not kind. And that's exactly why I didn't want to go with a hospital, because that's exactly how I thought it was going to go. And I don't know if I thought it into existence. I don't know how that works, but I do know that I didn't deserve that. And I do know that the labor that I wished I could have, that I wanted to have, I miss it. and I never got to hold it. So that's really difficult to deal with inside, because step by step, they even said, like, okay, if you're on the Pitocin, you won't be able to have a natural labor. No, if I was on the Pitocin, I can have a water birth still in the hospital, but I can't. And my mind is like, the story is so blurry too. So it's just so hard, because I really thought that this was something that I was going to like fully remember forever. And it's fair. It's fair to think, oh, I wish it would have gone this way, or, things like that. But it's also fair to accept that it went the way that it did, and that now I'm here. And it's definitely shown me a lot of strength in recovery in my body. It's shown me how capable I am, and how capable I always was, and how valuable my body is. The fact that I can walk, the fact that I can get up by myself. So I'm on the Pitocin, and my friend is monitoring contractions with me. We ask, where's the midwife? Drea asked, where's the midwife? And the nurse said, I don't know. You don't know where the midwife is, and for the last at least 7 hours that I have been contracting consistently, and that you've been denying the amount of pain that I'm in. It just is so twisted. And so finally, a midwife comes in, I think around 11 p.m. Thursday night. And mind you, it's already been 24 hours past the time that they said you're at risk of infection if we do not break your water. And they didn't want to check how dilated, they didn't want to consistently check how dilated I was, because I was already at risk of infection. So I get that. But then I was like, okay, can you please break my water? Like, I thought you said it wasn't safe. And the midwife came back, and she was like, okay, like, we can do it. And she broke my water. And as soon as she broke my water, I went to the bathroom, and it was really hard to go to the bathroom because of the contractions. Like, as I got up, right? And by the time I was up, or even while I was getting up, I would start contracting, and I would have to stop and really, really focus on staying my calm. But I was in so much pain. And I walked to the bathroom, and there's green stuff on the pad that I'm wearing. And I'm like, what in the world is this? So I tell the nurse, I'm like, hey, there's green stuff on the pad. Is that normal? She's like, oh, it's meconium. It's totally normal. And I was like, what is that? So I'm asking her, what is that? And she's like, oh, yeah, it's natural. It's normal. Like, the baby poops in the womb when he's past being due. And I don't even know what she said. I just like, so yeah, she said it was normal. And then, yes, she kept coming back in. And I told the midwife while she was breaking my water, I said, yes, I've been contracting consistently, and they are super painful. And then she's like, we want to see you swaying and moaning and in pain, like your full body animal in pain. And I'm like, sorry that I'm not causing a scene. And why does that make me not believable? So she's like, oh, there's a monitor that we can insert inside that'll measure the strength of the contractions. So I said, yeah, let's do that. And so at this point, there's that monitor inside me, and there's like the IV. So to go to the bath, I'm just drained in so many things to carry that I'm not supposed to yank on, because otherwise I'll hurt myself even more. And so I'm walking to the bathroom. No, I'm walking back, and it just is so painful. At some point, I just quit on wearing pads because it was just so much to my back was so tight, and my pelvis and everything. It was so hard to walk. And so it was just so difficult to put a pad on. And if you know me, you know that and if you know me, you know that I'm a person who is clean and so hygienic and just, yeah. So the fact that I quit replacing my pads says a lot. At this point, it was already around 36 hours of labor. And so, number one, they didn't break my water until 36 hours, even though they told me that at 24 hours, I was at risk of infection. That's neglect. So, once she broke my water, I'm at 36 hours. I seeing, I quit. So I asked her for like the square towels, like the face towels. No, they were actually the long, long ones. And I would just fold it up and I would place it just in between my legs. And at some point, it was getting even more hard to walk. So Travis would help me stand, and he would help me, and I would be holding the towel. So he would help me like to go to the bathroom. And it just was so much. Sorry, I just blew into the mic. It was so much. Even just like talking about it and visualizing it, I remember it like makes me feel how I felt then, just helpless. And Travis was there. He was amazing. He was so brave and let go of all his squeamish. How do you say that word? Because he is not for goos and liquids and bodily fluids and all that stuff. So he definitely, that man, my man. And me quitting being just putting a pad on, like that's so intense. That's so, at that point, I was just exhausted of getting up and struggling with wires and not wires, but tubes. I don't know. It was just so difficult. And I felt still so much faith and hope. And I was praying and just like, Leo is coming soon. I was just still so excited. I was just still so hopeful and so positive, like the whole time. And then that next morning, so Friday morning, I didn't sleep all of Thursday, and no one ended up coming back to check whether the contractions were indeed strong or not. There was no midwife all night long coming to check on me. So, what do I conclude from that? You didn't, like, you weren't going to come and check if they were strong enough to see that I'm for real being real with you. Like, that doesn't matter. No confirmation, no nothing. Like, that felt so messed up too. And this whole time, like, we're still thinking that the team's got us. Like, we're not thinking that they don't. This is our first time. We think that it's normal. We think that it's okay. And so, yeah, we're, of course, going to trust what they're saying. They're going to trust the medical team, and slowly realizing, wow, this has gone way too long. And so then all of Thursday night contracting, at least like every minute, not sleeping, holding on to the bed, like just in the worst pain you could ever imagine. And the nurse comes in for the next shift, so past 7 a.m. And then 9 a.m. comes, and a nurse comes in, and she's like, oh, are you cold? Because I started shivering. Or are you cold? And I'm like, no, I'm not cold. And I read that the shakes are normal during labor, and so I thought that's what was happening. So she comes in with a thermometer to check my temperature, and she checks my temperature, and she's like, ha ha ha, just as I expected. You have a high temperature, you have a fever of blah 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 blah, 101 point something, 101 point something. And then a couple minutes later, I think like 30 minutes later, she comes in and checks it again, and it's higher that time. That first time that she checked it, she did say if I wanted, that they needed to give me medicine because I probably had an infection. And I'm like, oh, hindsight. I'm like, oh, I wonder why I got an infection. Yeah, you let me go forever without checking on me, without breaking my water, without being real with me and being like, hey girl, you need a C-section, like, just neglect. What was that team doing? I have no idea, but it was a lot, and it really did a lot to me mentally, because I'm having to heal from that traumatic experience. And so then that second time she came in and she said that I had a higher temperature. They took my blood as well, by the way, to test if I had an infection. And so that second time she came in, she was like, oh yes, your blood work is in the lab. The results will come soon. And then that's when I said, no, I need to have a C-section. My temperature is rising. And I was so nice at this point still. I'm saying it in this mood now because hindsight, I'm like, what the F? But in the moment, I was definitely just still trusting them and still being like, no, I think we as a team, our labor team. And they gave me the epidural. They wham bammed me onto the table. They slit me open. They pulled Leo out, and I look over. Travis was sitting right behind me on a stool, and I'm laid out on the table, and he's on my left shoulder. So I turn to him, and I'm like, because I saw them pass by with something, but there was no sound. And I'm like, is that him? Is that him? And He's like, it's okay. Just focus on you and me. Just focus on you and me. And they had to resuscitate Leo. And Leo was super gray. And his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck 3 times. And when Leo finally cried, Travis turned around and he told me that, like, everything was okay. And then they brought Leo to me for the first time, and I kissed his little nose. And I wasn't able to hold him yet because they still had to finish making sure he was okay. It was just so not what I expected, but still so magical. The most vivid example of both realities can exist, where it was something so scary, me holding him while they're literally sewing me back up, and I couldn't even hold him up myself, but that was beautiful. It was still beautiful. Like, I'm still grateful for my birth story, and I still think that it's beautiful. I'm not grateful for the trauma that was caused on my life, because then postpartum was so difficult. Yes, I'm using my sleeve. It was so difficult, as how do you live in both realities, where, and I did it, where you're enjoying your baby and you're so grateful for your baby and you're so grateful that you're both alive. Because then when we came home from the hospital, I saw my lab work came in and I did have an infection, and they were still waiting. What were you waiting for? For me to go into shock? So yeah, that was difficult for me. Yes, of course, that bled into my postpartum. And how did it bleed into my postpartum? Well, I chose not to breastfeed Leo because of the medicine that I was on. And they said, okay, it's okay. Because they didn't say, okay, it's okay. They said, it's okay to give him breast milk because there's only tiny, small traces of the oxycodone, I don't know how to say it. Only small traces. I'm sorry, what? It's okay to, like, and I'm not being judgmental at all. This is personally in me. I didn't want to breastfeed him, knowing that there was, because I wanted to do it naturally for a reason. And I wasn't able to, because of course I needed to take the medicine. I was in so much pain. I couldn't even get out of bed by myself. Like, Travis literally had to, like, grab my feet and slowly help me one by one get it off, and then, like, grab my body and, like, pick me up. Yeah, it was a lot. And postpartum was it was beautiful. Travis got to take 11 weeks of paternity leave, and so we got to both bond so well with Leo, and we got to enjoy each other. Like, when are we ever going to have that amount of time off other than retirement, you know? So that was beautiful. Like, that part was so beautiful. Having my baby in my arms, watching us just be, seeing our teamwork, seeing the things we can grow on, like learning together. Travis literally nurturing me back to health. My friend Drea creating a food train to feed us. Like, who else would I have chosen to have children with? In this lifetime, I fully knew who that man needed to be. And it's Travis. It's my babe. So I'm so grateful. Like, I'm sitting here so grateful for everything, for however it happened, for all of it, because I seriously got the biggest second chance at life. And not only me, but also my baby. And that is something that I'm never, ever going to stop thanking God for. Because it's seriously, it was a miracle. It is a miracle. The fact that I'm alive is a miracle. God seriously saved us from the scariest. And yeah, so we're here. And we're well. And we're growing. And Leo's now almost 9 months. I am the most confident, happy, also manifesting in my life, growing, learning, speaking a lot more Spanish, teaching Leo Spanish, being together as a family is the most beautiful thing. And so it's catapulted me toward setting boundaries for myself, for my family, loving myself, for my family, taking care of my health for myself, for my family. I started taking myself and my health way more seriously after birth, after the experience that I had, because I remember vividly telling Travis, I'm never going to take walking for granted ever again. Because I seriously, like, I could be a bummy bum. I could be a lazy poo, a little lazy pookie. But I don't want to be not healthy, you know? And I was definitely overweight. I was definitely mentally not the healthiest. And so I'm super grateful for everything. I'm super grateful for the story that is my life, because look at us now. Me fully being like, okay, Grassy girl, what do you love? You love music, storytelling, writing, loving, caring, plants, makeup. And yeah, I'm so grateful that I'm doing this now, because every time it gets easier and easier, and every time it just becomes a part of my life, and it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful to have everything that I have, to have health, my family, to have this podcast, to have all of you who, by the way, while I was taking that breather break, you guys just were so helpful and supportive and there for me and checking on me. Like, that was so kind. And I'm really grateful for that. And I think to have that support from strangers is, Leo just woke up, to have that support from strangers is insane in the best way, because I didn't have that support from my own family members in terms of words of love. And there were words of love, but there were also lots of words of wildness. And yeah, it was a lot. Not being supported by your family member, your extended family members now after becoming a parent, and your immediate family is now your fiance and your baby. I'm sorry, Leo's really upset and it's hard to focus. But Travis has got it and he's helping him. I think it's so frustrating to anybody going through what I'm going through. I'm sorry that you're going through it, and we stay hopeful and trying our best, because it doesn't matter who is or who isn't here. Like, what matters is yourself. What matters is, what are you doing for yourself? What are you putting yourself into? What energies are you allowing in your life? And is the things that hurt you, do you want to keep allowing them? No? Okay, do something about that. And it is difficult. It's not easy to set boundaries. It's not easy to mourn certain relationships that you thought were going to be a part of your life forever. And there was a lot of that postpartum. And so postpartum was seriously a little plantita growing while it was also shedding some leaves. And while I miss those leaves dearly, I can't. It's not okay for my heart. And what am I teaching Leo by accepting that in my life? I want to lead by example. I want Leo to see me as somebody who loves themselves, does things that they love, and takes this world into their hand and nurtures it, not damages it. And so if I'm around that, what does that say? That I'm okay with that. And I'm not saying that I'm like judging everybody's actions. It's more just, if you can't be kind, if you choose to maliciously do things to other people, that's a different ballpark. And that's what I'm talking about, that I don't want to allow in my life and that I don't want to be a part of. It's hard because it's almost like I have to set these boundaries with people, because otherwise, and it's like my arm is getting twisted because it is hard to not talk to certain people. I mean, to everybody who I'm just a lover, and sometimes it really, really does bite me in the butt because I love at my own expense, and I'm not that anymore. I'm no longer somebody who loves at their own expense. I am no longer somebody who doesn't live by example. I'm no longer somebody who... Instead, let's talk in the positive. Who am I? I'm Grossi. Wow. That question of who are you? You know, when people are like, oh, who are you? No, not what do you do? Not what's your name? Like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm me. I'm the only cosmic star in the universe. The other night I had a dream, and that somebody said that to me, that they picked me out of a crowd and that they literally shed like a light on me, and that they were like, you're the only cosmic star in the universe. And ever since then, I've really been acting like that and really been Like, that means that I'm absolutely unique. And that means that I'm absolutely okay with being in the dark. And it's actually helped me with being in the dark because I do not love being in the dark. And I don't really love the dark in general. It's scary. But that dream seriously like shifted something in me. So it's really cool. And all of these positive things that I'm experiencing postpartum, experiencing on this side, it's so cool. I think the coolest part is just being happy every day, like choosing to be happy every day, letting myself be sad and mourn, but then picking myself back up, doing something I love, stepping outside and just enjoying the day. And it really, really helps me realize I'm still okay. My household is okay. We're more than okay. We're happy. We're the best. I love my family. I love what we've created. I love how Travis and I really took our time to choose when to have our child, because we're just, this phase of life is so cool. When Leo said that for the first time, I was like, what? And I got it on video too, so that was super cool. Life is just great, and we just have to stay positive. But, you know, staying positive doesn't mean not allowing yourself to mourn the negative stuff. Staying positive just means I'm okay despite everything going on. So I want to leave you with that. What are you going through that is eating you up? It's eating you up because you're sitting there. You keep thinking about it and thinking about it. And by you, I mean me. I'm talking to myself, really. If this doesn't apply to you, that's okay. I'm not, yeah. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. And then it's also okay to be like, okay, that needs a break for a second. Let me circle myself here. Where do I want to be? I want to be right here. You know, like on the map. That's what I mean when I say that. Like, where on the map do you want to be? Do you want to be at the Bahamas? Do you want to be sitting under some palm trees, sipping on a margarita? Or do you want to be scrounged up in your bed, crying? Over here on the map, I'm going to choose happiness. But for a second, I'm going to let myself mourn. I'm going to let myself do the feelings, feel the feels, and then move past it. And that's where the importance of reflecting, learning, and growing. Being able to say, yes, that happened, but look at this. It taught me this. And that's the best. Yes, my postpartum journey was difficult because of, yes, my labor was difficult. But this is what I learned from it. I became a way better person. I became a way kinder person. I became so much more intentional with my time and my energy and with my friends and with letting the people that I love know that I love them and care about them. And I no longer feel shy to tell somebody like, oh, you're doing great, like, to, words of affirmation. So yeah, I'm just unapologetically loving and me, and I'm going to continue to do that. And if you follow me on Instagram, I hope that you feel that from me. And if you don't yet, please do. Chica con plantas. And I can't wait to create more with you. I can't wait to grow more with you. I can't wait for you to tell me what you think about today's podcast, because it's now over. Yeah, babes, I know. It's hard to let go. I love you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Don't forget that you can always DM me. You can always reach out to me. You can always I like chatting with you too. I like knowing what you think of everything, and I like picking your brain. So you're welcome to pick mine. Hit my DMs up. Also, I started my Chica con Plantas podcast Instagram page. So go ahead and follow that too. And I can't wait to see you next time.